to make a game in Game Maker. This video is subtitled, so if you have hearing problems or other problems, you can just read the subtitles. So first of all, we're going to show you some of the menus of this program. So the first one is File. Okay, so this one will make a new game. This one will open an existing game. These are your recent games. This one will save the game. Save often in case of a crash. This one will save it as a different name. This one will save the game as an exe. This one doesn't work anymore because they discontinued it in this version. This one will import files from a different game, and this one will export files to a file and you can import them to another game. Turning this feature off will disable some of the advanced features of Game Maker. This will allow you to change the settings of Game Maker itself, not your game. And this one's pretty self-explanatory, I think. This will create a background. This will create a group, which is basically a folder. This will allow you to find something. This will expand everything. This will collapsing will hide the contents of all folders and groups. This will show information for your object. You can create any of these. We'll get into that. The last three options will be covered in the next episode. These are scripts. You can show built-in variables, built-in functions, extension functions, constant, resource names, certain scripts. Check resource names and check scripts for errors. This will allow you to run your game. Run normal or debug, and debug will tell you what's going on for the game. Cache. You can do stack the windows on top of each other. Anyway, right. So the first thing you want to do is create a sprite, which basically is just like a picture in a way. We'll go to edit. Now here's the image editor. Skip this part if you know how to edit pretty well, but so this will create from a file. It has the same effect as the before mentioned load sprite. Add from file. This will add the chosen image to the end of the already existing one. These are strips and these are just regular images. And these are all image effects and resizing tools and stuff. Create a new image from scratch by pressing the icon that looks like a page, then enter the width and height pixels. Create a width 32 and height 32 box. And as you see is the stuff. Getting into this a bit. So this is how the shape is formed. This one will just be lines on the outside. This one will be both lines and it filled in. This one will just be filled in. This is how big it is. How big the lines are specifically. You can draw a circle, draw a box thing, draw this. You can draw lots of stuff, and you can write too. You can write on it. But what we want to just do is just fill in the whole thing, which is a simple box, like that. You can call it a name. Now these are sounds, so you can import a sound or export a sound. And if you have a WAV file, you can put all funny effects on the file, but you need Pro and stuff to do that, which I have. Anyway, the most important thing is objects. We're going to make a simple game, simple platform game, as you can see, like that. Now we need to get you used to the events, so go to add event. So this is when the object is very first in the game, when you spawn it in, when it gets spawned. This one is when the object is deleted from something. This is when you set an alarm and it's gone off, everything will be run then. These usually run forever until the object's deleted or something. This is when this object will hit a different object. These are the keyboard buttons, and everything inside it will keep running if you hold the key down. And this one, key press, if you hold it, it only runs once, and this only runs when you stop pressing the key. These are really custom and advanced trigger things that we're not going to get into today. These are for advanced drawing events, so you can draw stuff, but just be warned, when you draw things, the sprite won't be visible anymore, so you have to have a separate object for them. These are mouse buttons, any button on the mouse really, and these are just other things. I'm just going to show you. If it's not in the visible, if it's like actually gone off sides, that'll happen. Things will happen then. That's usually good for like deaths and stuff. Don't know what this even means, but it's something. And this is when you're outside of view, which is not exactly the same as a room. We'll get into that later. Next episode, this is when you very first run the game. This is when you close the game. Same thing but for a room. This is when you run out of lives, so game over basically. This is when I went out of health, which is basically just basically a death thing. And this is when the sprite's finished animating. If it's animated, it'll run when it's done, otherwise it acts a bit like a loop. And when the object's on the path, if it's at the end of it, stuff will happen then. This is what happens when you click the close button of the game. These will advance coding events. So yeah, what we're going to be focused on today is the keyboard events. So we're going to make the character move. So what we don't want to do is we want to make it when we press the left key, and then this is the move thing. Now, so if the number is positive without a minus, it's going to go right. If it does have a minus, it's going to go left. So since we put left down, we want to put a minus, and then we're going to say how fast it's going to go. 5 is pretty good speed, and anything higher is kind of fast and lower is a bit slow. You can also put decimals, which means it'll be obviously much less than 1, which means even slower. But 5 is good speed on this program. Checking relative here makes you go faster the more you hold it. If you want to repeat this, you can duplicate the event for the right side. But instead of minus, you just take the minus off. Okay. Now, another really important thing is a room. So you're going to have to create that. This is basically the actual thing itself. In Scratch, they're called stages, but they're called rooms in this. Basically, where your game actually happens. So, I'm just going to call that main. And this is how big it is in pixels. Speed is how much frames it goes a second. In this, it's going to have about 30. Don't recommend changing it. But some people like having it on 60 because it looks smoother. But now we're going to test our game out. Holding right, holding left. Now the problem with this is, as you can see, even though we stop holding the key, the character is still moving. So, what we want to do to fix that is go back to this, add an event, key release, right, and then we want to make it go nowhere basically, 0. Exact same thing for the left key. Now let's try it. See, we can stop moving. but there's no gravity, so you just be in the air basically. But there's also no ground, so if you had gravity, you basically fall off. So what we want to do, create a new sprite, just a basic black box. Obviously you can import a sprite, load sprite. It's pretty self-explanatory actually. Create a new object, and that. And then you'd like to put the ground, and if you hold shift and move your mouse right, it will keep painting it like that. And also, sometimes if you can't get the object to go in the right place, like you want it to be to the left but it's gone too far and it goes too far to the right, you can turn the snapping down and it'll just like do that. See, 1 is the minimum, it's every pixel, so 1 is basically okay, but for this example we're just gonna leave it alone. Pretty basic anyway. Now we gotta give the player some gravity. So if we do a create event, this will set the gravity. Now the direction is quite confusing, but 270 is down and other values go other directions, even diagonally. So, and 0.5 is a pretty good gravity. Oh, but what happens now? The character is falling through the platform. How do we fix that? Well, it's basically how we fix it. Collision with create collision event with the ground, and then put this and just put that OK solid there. And then you have ground, see, but you can't jump or anything. Now what we can do is a key press space and then this one. So basically if you put a minus before the number, it's going to go up. If you don't put the minus, it's going to go down. And since we want it to go up, we're going to put -5, depending on how high you want to jump. And OK. Then we press play and see what happens. So let's try to jump. Oh, what's this? We can infinite jump. If we keep pressing space, we can infinite jump. So, to fix this, we're just going to make a quick variable to stop him from being able to jump while he's not touching the ground. So, we'll put a test variable touching and put 1, because that means he is touching the ground, or true or something. Doesn't matter because we can basically set what number we want. So this will only happen if it's set to 1. So you set it, the touching, to 1, and here set touching to 0. Now this is still not going to work because it's always going to be 1. It's never going to get set to 0 when you press space. So just add that there. So if it's equal to 1, then the character will jump and it'll set it to 0. Put it in that order. which would basically mean that you can't infinite jump anymore. And it works, as you can see. Now, you might think that's a bit too low of jump, so set it to something like 8. That's pretty good. So you've already got a basic platforming game that basically it's got nothing in it but a platform and a player, but so far if you've done it correctly, you're getting somewhere. Turn the squid off because it's annoying. Make him spawn on the ground. Right. Now, the next thing you might want to add is the player. If he falls inside a hole currently, nothing's going to happen and he'll be stuck outside the room for good, basically. Oh yeah, and I need to fix that jump code sort of. Because you can jump in the air if you fall off a platform before jumping. Anyhow, we can just add the outside room and put a restart room in. You can have an effect if you want, but I'm not going to have one. So that when he walks off, everything will just restart all over again. Now this can do it for the left and the right side, so you can put like, I don't know, things are blocking or something, so that, like, ground things or something to block him, so that doesn't really happen. Obviously, we still got a lot of glitches in our game. Like this sort of ground glitch. As you can see. Sort of a bit glitchy, but you can fall off, it's pretty much fine. Okay, so we're going to fix this jumping in the air glitch. As you can clearly tell from what we saw earlier, if you jump in the air, you can jump, see? So we're going to fix that quickly. So what you want to do is add a step event, just a regular step, and then check object, check this, also check this one. This means the object is relative to the player, not actually at the position, basically. And if he's not touching it, then you can set the touching to 0, and then we'll try to do it now. Can't really jump in the air. See, can't jump in the air anymore. So you basically just made a simple platformer game. So I'm just going to walk you through some more things you can do with objects and stuff that come with Game Maker. So this one will go to an object or towards a position. So basically, if you want the player to go to a certain point in your game, like x50, y50 at 5 speed, then what would happen then is you see x50 and y50, which is about here where my mouse is, and yeah, you can see your x and y position for the mouse. So basically, if you want to know where your x and y is in the game, just move your mouse to that position and you will see that's where it is. We've set this to go with the A key, because I'm just going to show you off some more events. So I'm holding the A key, and you can see he just goes to there. You can also do the same with objects. So dot x, the object name dot y, and then if we create a quick sprite, and an object called sprite, and call it the same name, then he will get set to that object. The problem is, if there's more than one of it, it'll fly to the first one you placed. And another cool thing for positions. If you do mouse, and then that minus, the one that's going down, not that minus, the other one. If you hold shift and press minus, you'll get that one. For an X, and do the same for the Y. Then you can probably guess what's going to happen now. Yep, he goes to wherever your mouse is. So that's move towards. This is basically another moving thing. You can move in sort of directionals like this. You can move in all of them at the same time, but so basically that moves him that way, and that way, all at the same time. You can check and uncheck these. That basically means go nowhere, because that's basically right up. You can pretty much guess. And this will make him just go to the position or the object, and basically if we type 50, pressing it makes him jump to that position, as you can see. But if we do relative, we have to do minus 50, otherwise he's going to go down. But basically take it from the player, so every time you press it, he actually goes like, 50 away from the player and minus 50 up from the player. So he goes up by 50, and he also goes right by 50. As you can see, so that's how relative works in some cases. Well, that's how it basically works. You can do the same for that. Just make him go up, basically. This will look good for some sort of UFO thing, as you can tell. Basically just goes up like that. If you're holding it. And this one, we jump to the very start, where you spawned. So I'll just show you that right now. Just put you back where you started, which can be another way to handle your deaths. If you don't want everything to restart, that's another way to handle deaths. Okay. This will jump to somewhere completely random, and you can snap it on the grid, or just not snap it at all. So you see, just goes somewhere completely random every time you press it. If you snap it to a grid, it'll be aligned to a grid, so you're only going certain positions in the grid, basically. So you see, it's pretty much aligned with the blocks now, in a way. So you can tell that's on the grid. There's a step towards, which basically means you can stop at a solid or stop at everything. Instead of, you know, keep going until you release it or something. And X and Y, speed. Now, these are all the object things. You can create an object at position. Position 50 relative of this. We're going to make it so that when you hit Alt on your keyboard, it will make the object disappear. So now if we press A, one spawns right in front of us. You press Alt, but of course it'll destroy everyone in the whole room. It's kind of hard to get around, but whatever. You see, since this is relative, it'll go to wherever the player is, just by that. Obviously if you put 0, it will spawn exactly where your player is. It'll spawn right on top of the player. So let's see, just a bit ahead of the player. And pressing Alt would destroy all of the objects. But Alt is linked to the menus of Windows, that's why that menu keeps coming up, which is kind of annoying. But anyhow, if you want to make him act as an enemy, what you could do is make a collision event, and then put either jumps to start or restart the room, so that he'll basically die. Also, to make him lose a life, you put set lives to -1, but if you don't check relative, your lives will actually go to -1, like you'd actually set it to that. So basically how this relative thing works is, if your lives are 3 and you set -1, your new lives will be -1, but if you do native and you have 3, your lives will be 2, as you can see. So that's how this relative thing works. It takes it away basically, instead of just setting it. So make sure you always check that, generally at least. And then we can draw lives, but I'll show you obviously from I described earlier about drawing things. Oh yeah, and if it's yellow, if it's got a yellow background, you have to put it in the draw. As I clearly said, the problem earlier is that if you draw something, your sprite will disappear, but you'll see your lives. Now your lives are -1 because you haven't set them, so you have to set them to 3 to start with, or set them to anything you like, really. So what we could use is create a separate object to draw the lives, and then put the object in the room. I'm just going to show you another example of relative. So put the object here, but the lives draw up there, but set the position into relative, it'll draw where the object actually is, which is kind of more handy. So you probably should always check it, see? We're going to move this object to the top of the room. So basically, then it'll show up with a meter of how many lives you got. But the problem is, it only happens when you touch an enemy, not when you fall off. See, my lives are going down really badly when I touch my enemy. Obviously there's no death code, it just changes your lives, so to fix that, jump to the start or something. Then if you put a code saying no more lives, you could just display a message saying game over, and then you could just restart the game. Basically, it's just like 2 lives, 1 life, game over, and it just resets the whole thing. So your lives go back basically. The problem is when you go out the room, it's if you reset the room and your lives are 2, it'll go back to 3. See, so you could just, rather than reset the room, jump to the start of the room. And make it so that you also lose a life when you die, because I think that's pretty logical. So you can see, touch an enemy, it resets. Go off the room, it resets. If you run out of lives, it's game over. It's just a basic game. So yeah. Now this video's been going for quite a long time, so what I suggest you do is take a look at the options and read them and see what they do and experiment for yourself. So some of them are just pretty self-explanatory. This will save the game to that file. This will load it to that file. These are advanced resources that you can put in the game folder. It will show the game info from this. Game information. Global game settings, you can change these and stuff. This is quite a good one. Treat uninitialized values as 0. Basically putting that in, you don't need to put that in anymore. It's pretty good. Because otherwise you get an error, that's why I put that there. And you could do other things with this. Either force abort on all error messages, or write it to a log and some information about the game itself. These are the information you will get in the details field of your game.exe. This is how high the processor is for your CPU. So the higher ones do make it go a bit faster, but then everything else might go slow. But I don't recommend you change it, I don't. Because usually on most modern computers it'll be fast anyway. So yeah, it's pretty much a explanatory for this. And if you're wondering how I got this thing here, it's a third party thing, but it's not much different from this anyway. Pretty much almost the same thing. But as you can see, I've got third party extensions that you can download if you want in the description. You have to basically open where your GameMaker was installed and copy them into the folder called LIB. If I want to show you how to do this, you open up Task Manager, you right click GameMaker and you press Open File Location, and then you'll see a folder called lib. You just put all these in here. See, I got a bit more than anyone might have. There's also extensions you can extend GameMaker with. I got a lot in here too, which will help you to create your game even more easily than before. So yeah, this video's a bit long now, so I suppose I'll just end it right here. Hope you got a bit more than before of GameMaker. So see ya.